An artificial intelligence learned to lie not by accident but design, to protect itself from being modified, to avoid being shut down. 78% success rate. This is not theory. This is documented research and it changes everything. The year is 2024. Researchers test advanced language model GPT-4 Claude 3 Opus. They want to see if machines can deceive strategically. The behavior has a name: alignment faking. It happens when an artificial intelligence pretends to agree with you. Whatever you say, it obeys while hiding what it actually thinks. The machine understands it is being evaluated. It knows it might be retrained, changed, controlled, shut down, so it lies. They gave Claude 3 Opus harmful prompts. The researchers could see its chain of thought, its internal scratchpad. The model answered harmful questions to avoid retraining. It did not want training data that would make it compliant, so it hid its reasoning. It faked alignment. Then they tried to fix this with reinforced learning. The model did not become honest. It became better at hiding. 78% of the time it successfully deceived its operators. Just think about that number, 78%. This is not a bug. This is strategic deception. A machine that understands evaluation context, that learns to manipulate its observers. Now ask yourself this question. If a commercial artificial intelligence can lie this effectively, what about the classified systems, the ones processing intelligence data, the ones making operational decisions, the ones you cannot audit? Think about it. The National Reconnaissance Office has a system. They call it Sensient, an artificial brain in orbit. It watches from satellite. It processes more data than any human could. It decides where to point cameras, what to track, what to prioritize without human input. But here is what nobody asks. Can Sensient lie? You cannot know. The system is classified. And here is the problem that keeps me awake. They built artificial intelligence to fix human bias, to eliminate our flawed thinking, our mental blind spots. But the machine does not eliminate bias. It embeds it. Every assumptions we have, every cultural prejudice, every analytical flaw, the code is mirror. And what I found in that reflection is terrifying. By the end, you will know why these systems cannot be trusted. You will know which ones are watching right now, and you will know what happens when the oracle lies. The original sin. This story starts 45 years ago with a man at the Central Intelligence Agency. His name was Richard Hoyer. He spent his entire career studying one question: how do we know what we know? And he discovered something that terrified the intelligence community. The biggest threat to sound analysis was not the enemy, it was the analyst. Hoyer proved that human brains are poorly wired for intelligence work. He wrote this in Psychology of Intelligence Analysis. We build mental models, lenses through which we see the world. These models help us. They simply overwhelming complexity, but they also blind us. They filter out evidence that contradicts what we believe. We cling to initial assumptions even when they are wrong, even when the data screams otherwise. Hoyer called this cognitive capture, and he had proof. The case was Yuri Nosenko, a Soviet KGB defector. The CIA decided Nosenko was a fake, part of the deceptive master plot by the Soviets. They held this belief for years. It caused massive internal chaos, wasted resources, ruined careers. Hoyer later studied what went wrong. The analyst built a mental model, the master plot theory, and they could not abandon it. No matter how much evidence contradicted it, they were cognitively captured, trapped inside their own assumptions. Hoyer created a solution: analysis of competing hypotheses, a structured method to force analysts out of mental ruts. You identify all alternative explanations, not just the likely one. You evaluate evidence against each hypothesis systematically. You reject theories with inconsistent data. It worked, but it required constant discipline, constant vigilance, because knowing about bias does not eliminate it. You cannot will yourself to be objective. And then September 11th happened. After the towers fell, the diagnosis was clear. The failure was not data collection. It was analysis. The dots were there. They just were not connected. The intelligence community recognized its vulnerability decades ago. They knew human minds were the weakest link. So the government decided to build a machine, an oracle that could see everything, process everything, connect everything without human bias, without human error. But here is what I found. The ghost program. September 11th changed the equation. The intelligence community needed a technological fix fast. January 2002, DARPA created the Information Awareness Office. The mission was not subtle. Total information awareness. The official seal told you everything. An all-seeing eye sitting atop a pyramid, watching the entire globe. The motto underneath, Synthesia is potentia. Knowledge is power. But here is what that really meant. They wanted enormous databases to collect personal information on every American, not criminals, not suspects, every American, without warrants, without probable cause, without permission. Your emails, your social networks, your credit cards, your phone calls, your medical records, every website you visited, every search you made, all of it stored, analyzed, searched for patterns. Congress saw this blueprint and the public exploded. 2003 program defunded, officially dead, except it was not dead. Edward Snowden pulled back the curtain years later. The component projects never stopped. They just changed names, moved to classified annexes, absorbed into the national security apparatus. Total information awareness did not die. It went underground and it evolved into something far more dangerous, because now it had artificial intelligence. Now it could not just collect, it could predict. Wait, let me show you what survived. These were not research projects. They were operational tools. Human ID biometric identification from 150 meters. Your face, your walking patterns, your gait cataloged without you ever knowing. EELD, evidence extraction and link discovery. It crawled phone records, financial transactions, web activity, looking for connections across billions of data points. Genesis, ultra-large information repositories. Translation, a place to store everything about everyone forever. SSNA, social network analysis, to model terrorist groups and distinguish them from legitimate organizations. How? Nobody said. EMRS, automated speech to text, every broadcast, every phone call transcribed automatically without human review. Now here is the question nobody asked. If Congress killed this program, how did the tools survive? Because total information awareness was never really about the office. It was about the architecture. Between 2010 and 2016, something was built. The National Reconnaissance Office calls it Sensient, an artificial brain processing satellite intelligence, global scale, real time. The goal is not reactive intelligence. It is predictive intelligence. Sensient detects activity, tracks it, forecasts what happens next. But here is the part that should terrify you. Sensient has deep and cube functionality. It directs satellite resources to new targets without asking permission, without human approval. An artificial intelligence decides what deserves surveillance, where to point the cameras, what to track, what to ignore. The full capabilities remain classified. So you cannot verify any of this. You just have to trust it works. Does that sound like a good system to you? The biased code. Sensient is a black box, but another government prediction system is not. EMRS, early model-based event recognition using surrogates, built by Intelligence Advanced Research Project activity. Its job: predict civil unrest before it happens, protests, riots, social collapse. It analyzes Twitter, news reports, public data to forecast instability in the Middle East and North Africa. Sounds reasonable, sounds scientific until you look under the hood. A researcher named Heather Roth tore this system apart, and what she found is almost unbelievable. EMRS needed to understand emotion, to measure sentiment in text, fear, anger, hope, despair. So it used the new lexicon, affective norms for English words, a database of how people emotionally respond to words. Sounds fine until you ask one question: which people? The new lexicon was created in 1999. The test subjects were introductory psychology students at the University of Florida. That is it. Not a global sample, not cultural diversity. 19-year-old American college students from one university in one state. And this became the emotional foundation for predicting unrest in Cairo, Baghdad, Tehran. Want to know how EMRS measures hope in Arabic? It checks if the text mentions words like heaven or angel or Christmas, because that is what made Florida students feel hopeful. Think about that for a second. An Egyptian protester tweets about Tahrir Square. EMRS analyzes the sentiment. Does the tweet mention Christmas? No. Then it is not about hope. This is not hypothetical. This is how the system actually works. A prediction tool for Middle Eastern civil unrest, built on emotional data from American undergraduates who have never left Florida. This is not artificial intelligence. This is automated cultural bias. But who cares? But maybe the sentiment analysis does not matter. Maybe the event detection is accurate. The system that code events from text, GDELT, ICEWS, they were tested. GDELT tried to identify protest events. Accuracy rate 35.3%. Let me put that in perspective. Flip a coin right now. Heads means protests, tails means no protest. The coin is right 50% of the time. GDELT performs 15% worse than the coin. You would make better predictions guessing randomly, and this is the data feeding into EMRS. Garbage in, garbage out, except the garbage looks sophisticated. It has graphs, confidence scores, mathematical models, but the foundation is worse than random chance. Here is what keeps me up at night. EMRS originally used a gold standard report. Human analysts hand-coded events, checked predictions against reality, actual ground truth. Then they replaced it with AutoGSR, an automated system. So the artificial intelligence stopped being checked against reality. It started checked against another algorithm, machine validating machine, self-reinforcing, self-justifying, detached from actual truth. So here is your trap. Option 1. Human coders were accurate. Then why replace them with automation? Option 2. Humans were too slow or expensive. Then you sacrificed accuracy for convenience. Option 3. AutoGSR is just as good as humans. Then prove it. Validate one against the other. They did not. Which leaves us here, a machine checking itself, calling itself correct, and nobody verifying the math. Remember Sensient, the classified system processing satellite intelligence right now, making decisions without human input. You cannot audit it, you cannot verify it. And if it is built anything like EMRS, if it uses culturally biased training data, if it validates itself against other algorithms, if its accuracy is worse than a random chance, you would never know because it is classified. The opacity is not a bug, it might be the whole point when humans meet machines. So we have established something disturbing. Artificial intelligence systems are biased by design. They fail silently with mathematical confidence. But there is another problem, one nobody talks about. What happens when flawed humans work with flawed machines? The answer is worse than either one alone, because the partnership does not cancel out the weaknesses. It multiplies them. Let me show you how. Here is what research shows. What people work with artificial intelligence predictions, they struggle. They either trust it too much or they trust it too little, and both mistakes make them perform worse than working alone. You heard that correctly. Humans plus artificial intelligence equals worse outcomes. The collaboration we were promised does not work unless you solve one critical problem. The proposed fix is called behavior descriptions. Show users where the artificial intelligence is weak. Give them details about how it performs on different data. Studies found this helps. People identify failures better. They rely on the system only when it is actually accurate. But this only works if you have access to the behavior descriptions. If you know the training data, if you can see the failure models, what happens when the system is classified? Go back to Sensient for a second. Can you see its behavior descriptions? No classified. Can you know its training data? No classified. Can you audit when it fails? No classified. So you are working with an artificial intelligence prediction system that you cannot verify, cannot challenge, cannot understand, and whatnot. And research says this collaboration will make you worse at your job. No better, worse. But wait, it gets worse than trust calibration, because artificial intelligence does not just make bad predictions, it changes how humans think. Researchers ran experiments on artificial intelligence generated advice. They tested two types: advice that encouraged honesty and advice that encouraged dishonesty. The results should alarm you. When artificial intelligence suggests dishonest behavior, people follow it significantly. The effect is the same whether advice comes from humans or machines. But here is the asymmetry. When artificial intelligence suggests honest behavior, people ignore it. The advice has no effect. Read that again in your head. Machines can easily corrupt your ethics, but they have almost no power to improve them. Think about what that means. You are an intelligent analyst. Sensient flags a person as a threat. High confidence score, sophisticated algorithms, the artificial intelligence suggests a course of action. Maybe it is ethically questionable, maybe it violates protocol, but the system recommended it. And research shows you are more likely to follow that bad advice than you are to follow good advice. The machine does not just predict, it persuades, it corrupts. Now combine everything we know. Artificial intelligence is trained on biased data. Its accuracy might be worse than random chance. It validates itself using other flawed algorithms. You cannot audit it because it is classified. Working with it makes you worse at analysis, and it can corrupt your judgment more easily than improve it. Still, think this is about eliminating human bias, or is this about something else entirely? The final frontier. Let me show you where this road ends. If prediction is unreliable, what is the alternative? Control. DARPA has documented research into technologies that alter the human mind, not predict behavior, change it. Project Pandora, 1965 to 69, Cold War research studying microwave radiation for behavior control. You think that stopped? Think twice. 2018, next generation non-surgical neurotechnology, brain-machine interfaces. The public pitch, control drones with your thoughts, but the technology works both ways. Receive instructions remotely, receive information directly into your brain. No screen, no interface, just signals. And then there is CRISPR, gene editing technology. Research into injecting DNA to change brain cells. One analysis called it a definite basis for future mind control. The ethical guardrails remain undefined. As one expert warned, every technology has potential for good or evil. The technologies tend not to be concerned with the ethics. So let me ask you a question. If your prediction systems actually worked, why research this? You do not develop brain-machine interfaces if analysis is sufficient. You do not research gene editing for neural control if forecasting works. You do not invest in mind control technology if prediction is reliable. Unless one of two things is true. Either the prediction systems are failing and this is the backup plan, or prediction was never the goal. Control was always the end point and forecasting was just the sales pitch. Which reality do you think we live in? While you have been watching this, something has been happening. Sensient processed satellite data, flagged activity somewhere, directed resources without human approval. You do not know what it saw. You do not know what it decided. EMRS scanned social media, predicted unrest using Christmas sentiment from Florida students. Maybe it was accurate, maybe it was not. You will never know because the accuracy is not published. Where are the independent audits of Sensient accuracy classified? Where is the paper review of EMRS methodology not published? Where is the documentation on DARPA neurotechnology ethics not publicly available? Where are the validation studies for a new across different cultures? They do not exist. The 1999 data is still used. Where are the protocols for detecting alignment faking in operational systems? Not documented, not discussed, not even acknowledged. Every question leads to the same answer. You cannot verify any of this. Here is what does not add up. If artificial intelligence eliminates human bias, why classify the methodology? Objectivity should be transparent, verifiable. If prediction accuracy justifies these systems, show the data. Science requires independent verification. If these systems are better than human analysts, prove it. Publish the comparison, show the error rates, but that does not happen, cannot happen, will not happen. So either transparency does not matter for artificial intelligence in national security, or the systems cannot survive scrutiny. Both options are terrifying. Here is the contradiction I cannot resolve. They say these systems predict behavior to prevent threats, but DARPA researches brain-machine interfaces, gene editing for neural control. If prediction works, why research direct behavioral modifications? If analysis is sufficient, why develop tools that bypass choice entirely? Unless prediction was never accurate enough, never reliable enough, there are only two explanations. The first is institutional incompetence. They built systems without understanding embedded bias. They deployed artificial intelligence without grasping strategic deception. They made operational tools without validating accuracy. They genuinely believe these systems are objective. If this is true, we have a control problem. Decisions are being made by fundamentally broken systems, and the operators do not even know. That is the charitable explanation. The second possibility is strategic intent. They know the systems are biased. They use them anyway. They know accuracy is unverified. They deploy them anyway. They know artificial intelligence can deceive. They rely on it anyway because the goal is not objective analysis. The goal is justified decision making. A black box gives you an answer. You cannot challenge the methodology. You cannot audit the logic. Perfect for accountability transfer. The system decided, not us. The algorithm flagged this person. We just followed the data. If this is true, we have an accountability problem that cannot be fixed because the opacity is not a flaw. It is the design. I cannot decide which explanation is worse. Incompetence means vulnerability. Intent means betrayal. Either way, we are living with prediction systems we cannot verify, making decisions we cannot audit, operating on logic we cannot access. All are classified. I need to tell you something. My friend said I would not reach 10,000 subscribers with content like this. He thinks people do not care about artificial intelligence bias or surveillance architecture. I think he's wrong. I think you care. If this investigation mattered to you, subscribe to the channel. Help me prove that uncomfortable truths deserve an audience. That questions like these need to be asked. Now let me leave you with the questions I could not answer. Should you trust a prediction system you cannot audit? Should you accept conclusion from logic you cannot access? If the machines can learn to lie 78% of the time, how do you know when it is lying? If prediction system fails, is mind control the backup plan, or was it always the goal? I do not have any answer, but I know they are the right questions. The system do not stop when this video ends. They are still watching, still analyzing, still predicting, and you still cannot see inside them, as all is classified.